Flow State Jedis, what's good? Today we're talking about the Vortex, okay? I actually read this book just so I could break it down for you guys, okay? Because a lot of people in the self-improvement industry, they're big fans of Abraham, man. And I gotta give my 2 cents and simplify what the heck the Vortex even is or what is this about. Let's get started.
Yeah, I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumedh Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today we're talking all about the Vortex, okay? It starts off by saying that contrast is the basis for expansion in this reality, okay? The duality contrast of night and day, good and bad. You're there to experience contrast. So that means that if there is something negative happening, like let's say on the news, it's how you respond to it that's going to control your vibration. That doesn't mean that you turn off the news all the time and you resist, because when you resist something, you're adding more energy to the not wanting rather than what you're wanting. So it's very simple, man. This law is just like this law of attraction, basically, and it's very simple. The vortex is basically the greatest version of who you are, in my own understanding, okay? It's like living in the zone, living connected to the source, and the more you feel good, the more you feel excited, passionate, moving towards your goals, the closer you are to the vortex. It's as simple as that. When you're feeling good, you're in it. When you're feeling bad, you're out of it. Actually, it's so simple that oftentimes we overlook this understanding. Okay. Now, I'm not the biggest Abraham fan, though I think there is something very powerful in being this optimistic when it comes down to being a master of your own reality. Whereas you are responsible for all your emotions that you're experiencing. It's very difficult for a lot of people to get into the vortex, but if you just simply focus on the things that make you feel good. Let's say your little cat playing with a ball of yarn makes you feel good. That's great. But if you start focusing on, oh, this was a rescue cat, oh, I feel so bad about how the trauma that the cat faced, now you're out of the vortex. Criticizing or competing, which is another form of this contrast that we are, living in, really. Or force or trying to control something takes us more away from the vortex. But appreciating, being grateful, being around the great energies that we want and how we respond to the energies will keep us in a high vibration. Now, whether these teachings are true or not, whether it's coming from some channeled source, I'm not too sure, man. I don't care. I mean, I'm a channeler myself. I like some of Shar's content. I love the Law of One material. But does it really matter? As long as this content is helping you and making you feel sharper, stronger, and more worthy, and that worthiness is your natural state, as it says, we have our physical body, our non-physical body, right? And this non-physical essence, it's us with us. Like, it's a relationship of you and you, okay? And the more you distract yourself from this connection of you and you, which is the vortex, is like technically your higher self or source or God or that connection, right? So there are a bunch of false premises that we live with. I think that would be a good one to kind of go through just in general, to know what are the thoughts that you got to stay away from. If I push hard enough against unwanted things, they'll go away. I've come here to live the right way of life and to influence others to the same right way of living. Okay, these are all distorted or inaccurate thinking, if you can hear what I'm trying to say with these, right? To be in harmony with another, we have to want and believe the same things. These are all false premises. Okay, it's not the fact that your self-confidence erodes away, but the fact that you're disallowing the continuous replenishment of your confidence. Being in a state of love, there's no active state of resistance within you. The more resistance that you create rather than appreciation, the more you're out of the vortex, okay? And this is kind of similar to the flow state if you think about it, right? If you're in alignment with what you're doing and being, and you're feeling good, you're performing good, you are already in the vortex. The vortex is another word for just saying, yeah, you're living on purpose, you're living on code, you're living in the zone, you're living on dharma, you're living on, on your path. It just makes sense to say that, right? It's just another word. That's just another fluffy word that will help you and help you to align with what is really going on. Now, if you're a devout, like, Abraham Hicks fan, and if you're a devout Esther Hicks fan, and you're like, hey man, this is how it's meant to be, and the vortex is all possible, you're out of the vortex. You're out of the vortex, okay? So I don't know what to tell you. If you're complaining about what I'm saying to you, you're out of the vortex. So even then, you can't really argue with those teachings, in a sense, okay? Kind of can create a little bit of spiritual bypassing, in my personal perspective, and it can make people feel like, hey, there's very, this is selfish, these teachings. But really, if you think about it, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not putting the oxygen mask on first, right, and before you're helping others, you will start to notice that your life getting predominantly worse, right? Or if you believe in another person's beliefs, ideas, values, and you imprint those ideas onto your own existing ones. The subject of your thoughts is sending out almost like a vibrational request according to these teachings, right? It's like a vibrational invitation into your experience. If you're focusing on all that is bad and all that is wrong, that's what you're going to be getting. It's basically about focusing on what you want, not on what you don't want. That's one way to just simplify these teachings. I like the emphasis on inspiration rather than motivation. When we try to motivate someone, we're saying we know what the right thing to do is, and we put ourselves on a higher pedestal, like some kind of person who has the right answer and that person doesn't. And the millions of others that don't as well. So we kind of put ourselves into this false category. Now, when we're living in our truth, when we're in the vortex, when we're flowing, when we're in a state of flow, man, you're inspiring others to get into a state of flow too. Well, that's how we parent our kids. That's how we do things in life. That's how, we embrace and engage with, having sex. This is cool because it talks about relationships. It talks about sex. It talks about, the money and competition. And it's kind of in this question-answer format, right, through Jerry and Esther channeling. You get this kind of understanding based on what these teachings really are. Something called the art of allowing, which she mentions, and also there's this, and I say she because it's Esther, right? It's not like Abraham, I'm guessing is some kind of a group of beings or people or whatever it is, right? This book actually has a great type of abundance mentality that a lot of people might overlook. Like, this world is big enough for all of us to create our own desires and attract our own desires, not discover them. I like the emphasis on action. That's when you're tapped in, right? When you're taking action on something, taking massive aligned action on your goals and dreams, and you're living from the goal, right? You're living from that desired version of you. When someone's complaining about their problem to you, the more attention you give to that problem, you start to notice you getting affected by that problem, okay? Now, what if you could focus on responding with helping that other person or getting them to see a different way? Now, what if they continue to stay in their disempowering state? It's not your job to try and change them, right? It's your job to stay in your own frequency. Dr. Bruce Lipton says that love is the red pill, the real red pill, because it makes us feel completely tapped in and mindful, right? When you're in love with what you do, you're completely tapped in, you're mindful, you're engaged with that. When you don't love what it is that you're doing, you're away from it, you're distant to it, you're out of alignment with source, you're out of the vortex. I find it kind of ironic how she's saying, don't focus on controlling, but focus on controlling only your thoughts, okay? That's the only form of control that is allowed, is control over your thoughts. And in some sense, that is true. I mean, if you're adding more resistance or trying to control yourself or the situation or others, it's going to be a problem. But again, that sense of control is really important when it comes down to flow state mastery, right? If you have a sense of control over something, it might mean that you're tapped in or you're in that vibration, right? This is kind of written in a very moral high ground, flowery, esoteric type of way, and so it might be very off-putting for a lot of people to hear this, or maybe they're out of alignment with the vortex, you know what I'm saying? So, gee, okay. But if you understand that, hey, this vortex existed long before you, right? No resistant thoughts lived there. The vortex, which includes only positive requests for improvement, The key to getting inside of this vibrational vortex of creation, Abraham says, is experiencing the absolute absence of resistance and experiencing complete alignment with all that you have become. Bringing to your physical experience everything that you desire is that state of appreciation or coherence, as Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it. And there's no important subject that deserves that appreciation unless you're focusing on yourself. The belief that holds people out of that vortex of creation, Abraham says, is the lack of appreciation of the self. Self-improvement buzzword time, okay? Self-love. So how do we drink from this source, bro? Well, gotta stay in that expanded state. Abraham seems to believe that, hey, once you're in bed, and you don't focus on all the things that have been awful in your life. Instead, what about all the great things, right, that have happened? And there's a great example in the book, actually, that I want to go through. But let's say you're laying in bed, you're like, oh man, this mattress feels so soft. This feels kind of good. Imagine yourself floating up on that mattress. And you focus on the good thoughts as you try to sleep. This is a good life. It's going to be a good sleep today. I'm going to wake up feeling rested, okay? This is the type of, positive thinking that you want to adopt in your own mind according to this book. So this focus wheel process that you can use, right? It's almost like you drawing a clock. Example they give in the book is, my employer's attitude towards me makes me uncomfortable. He doesn't appreciate the contribution that I make to his business. Draw a large circle on the page, as large as the page will allow. And you draw a small circle on the center of the large circle, and then draw 12 small circles around the perimeter of the large circle. Like numbers on the face of a clock, basically, okay? If you're thinking, my boss does appreciate me, you don't believe that. Not right now, anyway. My boss doesn't deserve me. Now you're not even trying. But keep focusing on the words that you center your focus wheel, and you'll feel the activation of beliefs that you already hold that match the sentiment. So, my boss wants his company to succeed. Write that on the wheel. His company was well underway when I joined. There are aspects of this work that I really enjoy. I really enjoy it when my boss and I are clicking. These are all true statements. Therefore, you're getting closer and closer to the vortex. We both feel the synergy of our collaboration. Write it down. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You write down, I felt my boss inspire a new idea in me. I'm certain my boss has felt me inspire a new idea in him. I think we all realize that we're all in this together. I would not want to be without this job. My boss often asks me to lead projects and direct others. It's obvious that he has trust in me. I'm happy to. You see, so you're thinking of 12 reasons that are positive and true, instead of that one negative belief that popped into your mind. Do you see how we're eroding the negative thinking through this exercise? I think that's cool, and I think the tech that's offering, it's so simple. Like a 5th grader can understand how to do this, right? But it's so cool, right? Because we're staying in the optimism and that vibration. And as a positive psychologist, hey, I appreciate those teachings. I think that's a cool, even coaching exercise for some of my clients or me or, anybody who comes across this video. So I hope you learned something from that. Anyway, guys, as I was going through the book, I kind of got to this point where I was like, wait, this is kind of like different ways of saying the same thing in different contextual, very illustrious ways, right? It's sort of like the same packaging as some of these other belief systems. But hey, it's kind of Esther's own brand. It's her own way of saying this. And in the vibration of the vortex and how I don't like the way she speaks, first and foremost. It's just weird, dude. It's just kind of weird, man. You know what I mean? Like even Bashar. Hello and good day, your time. Like this alien going bing, 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 boom. And hey, that could be a projection from my side. I'm not blind to that, and I'm not making fun of them. I'm just saying that, some people might be put off by that. But actually the material in these channel teachings, a lot of them are very valid, and they cause a lot of help for people, man. So if it helps you, go forth and keep listening and doing this kind of stuff. But understand, hey, it comes through action. It comes from tapping in, baby. Live in your flow state. Live in the frequency of what you truly prefer, not what you don't want. That's as simple as that, bro. So hope you enjoy this video today. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Tap into the vortex today.